Let's talk big picture here in the NFL, as basically everybody's got 4 games left. Ordinary season would be 3 games left. I'm going to hit you with the playoff picture as it stands right now, Furman, and see if you think there's any value on any of these teams, because I don't think it's too early now to start to think about what the playoff picture might look like. Let's start in the NFC, since we're talking about the Rams and the Cardinals, and that's fairly significant. Right now, Cardinals are the 1 seed. Green Bay Packers 10-3, Tampa Bay Buccaneers 10-3. Both of those teams would be the 2 and the 3. Then you've got Dallas at 9-4, the Rams at 8-4. Again, we got a big game going on in the NFC West tonight. The 49ers right now playing pretty good football, sliding in at 7-6. The Washington football team still there at 6-7. Minnesota, enigmatic Viking team. They've led, I believe, in every game by a touchdown or more. Then you got the Eagles, Atlanta, and the Saints all sitting there at 6-7. Where do you see the NFC breaking out? Where do you think value is right now as you think about who might win the NFC?
All right, we can go from the back of the pack to the front. And when you look at the Minnesota Vikings, there is no doubt about it. They have to be the most confounding team in the NFL this season, because nearly every one of their games comes down to the final play, whether it's regulation or overtime, and they can't seem to hold a lead. I mean, they've had a lead in every one of their games this season. They've gone toe-to-toe with the likes of the Green Bay Packers, winning that game outright, giving up a game inexplicably to the Detroit Lions where Jared Goff marched them down the field in the final 2 minutes with no timeouts with that late touchdown pass. So Minnesota controls its own destiny to a certain extent. You look at their final 4 games, a home and home with the Chicago Bears. They'll travel to Lambeau for the revenge game for the Packers, and they'll get the Rams in their own building. So if Minnesota can go 3-1, they're going to need some help. But to rule out them potentially running the table and going 4-0, I don't think is a massive leap of faith, given some of the vulnerability we've seen from the Packers, especially on the defensive side. Now, would I run to bet them to win the NFC? Probably not, because I don't have a ton of confidence in Mike Zimmer. As far as the Eagles, the Washington football team, I'm not buying either of those sides as legitimate threats. When you look at the top 4, though, Tampa Bay for me is the number 1 team, not only in the NFC, but in the entire NFL. They check every single box. And if they get home field going through Raymond James en route to defending their Super Bowl crown, I don't think anybody can go down there and beat them. Green Bay, yes, if the road goes through Lambeau, I think they're going to be a tough out. You never want to bet against Aaron Rodgers. But at the same time, they need Jair Alexander back. They need Zadarius Smith. If they can add those 2 pieces to their defense, suddenly they're much more formidable on that side of the ball. But I think the team that's most intriguing is the Dallas Cowboys, because right now, the Cowboys defense is trending up with the return of DeMarcus Lawrence on a full workload. Randy Gregory, Micah Parsons is asserting himself, maybe not just as the defensive rookie of the year, Clay, but arguably the defensive player of the year. He has been a one-man wrecking crew, and credit to Dan Quinn for putting him in positions where he can excel. This was a guy that they were worried about how he was going to translate to the NFL, because the knock against him on draft day was that he didn't love the game of football. Well, if that's the case, I'd hate to see how good he was if he truly loved life in the National Football League. So Dallas is a team, if they can get their offense in gear, I think is scary. So NFC, you know who the top 4 are. We'll see how the rest of things play out. I think the Rams are the biggest pretender, in my opinion, on that list, given the way they're currently priced in the FanDuel Sportsbook app.
All right, AFC. Right now, number 1 seed, New England Patriots. They have the tie break over the Titans at 9-4. Kansas City also sitting at 9-4. Titans have the tie break over them. Baltimore, the Chargers, the Colts, and the Bills would be your 7 playoff teams right now. Cleveland Browns, Cincinnati Bengals, Denver, Pittsburgh, all kind of floating around there at 7 or 6 wins. Then Vegas, Miami as well. Where's value in your mind in the AFC, Furman?
Honestly, if you really believe in long shots, I think the Miami Dolphins are rather intriguing. At last check, I think they were upwards of 150-1 to win the AFC on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. And when you look at how this team has rebounded, very winnable game this weekend against the New York Jets, which should get them to 500 if they have a healthy running back, because I think all 3 of the guys on their roster have been put on the COVID reserve list, with Phillip Lindsay testing positive earlier today. And then you look at the remaining schedule for them. A date against the Saints, a date against the New England Patriots, and one, I think, against your beloved Titans as well. Right. So Miami has a legitimate shot to maybe go 3-1 down the stretch, get a little bit of help, and suddenly Brian Flores, with this defense that had underachieved for stretches, may be able to throw a wrench into plans. When I look at New England, I think they're extremely overvalued at this point. This team hasn't had a play from behind, over the last 6 to 7 weeks. I think the defense is good, but not elite like they're being advertised. And if you don't believe me, believe what the market tells you. There's a reason Indianapolis is going to be a modest favorite. And I think that number is going to continue to trend in their direction for the Saturday night showdown coming off the bye when they'll welcome in New England. Kansas City, 6-game winning streak. They haven't given up more than 17 points. That's going to be tested on Thursday night, a game I'm excited to break down with you and watch on Fox between the Chiefs and the Chargers. But the team that I think that doesn't get enough credit for being able to really make a deep run because they do have the pieces would be the Indianapolis Colts. I mean, if they beat New England, their future odds are going to get cut. I know it's always tough when you're a wild card. They don't really have a path to win the division unless the Titans completely implode, which isn't going to happen. But that is the team that I wouldn't want to play, knowing that they can run the football, they can stop the run. Carson Wentz, while you have question marks about his ability to win games with his arm, I like Frank Reich as a head coach. And I think if you're trying to identify value in the AFC, that's a team that wouldn't be more than a touchdown underdog against anybody if they have to go on the road. And I really believe Indianapolis is a team trending in the right direction when the games matter most down the stretch.